thanks for being here tonight and sharing what you know about marketing and retention and what's worked for you guys and kind of just what you've seen over your time being in business. So, like I said, I've personally known you for about 2.5 years or so. It's been so fun to just watch everything with the Barrett team grow, expand, flourish, stuff like that. So can you just give us like an overview of kind of like your story, what has gotten you to this point where you are today now with, say, your marketing, your customer retention things, and what you guys do there?
Yeah. Out of curiosity, how many of you guys follow us on social media? Oh, I like all of y'all. The rest of you, no, I'm just kidding. No, so for those of you who followed us from the very beginning, so my husband and I have been running a real estate team for the last 7.5 years. Born, raised here, lived here our whole lives. Prior to getting into real estate, I actually still carry my nursing license. I worked at Mercy Medical Center, graduated from Simpson, thought nursing was going to be my career. And then through a series of events called COVID, it just kind of burnt me out, and we were simultaneously working our real estate business, plus I was working full-time as a nurse, and I was just burnt out. Our real estate business really took off. It kind of was the thing that everybody liked, this husband and wife team duo, even though we were kind of still trying to figure out that dynamic, and we just went all into real estate. One of the biggest mindset things that I think could be applicable to anybody who might be thinking about doing an entrepreneur journey is the hardest thing for me was that I had gone from nursing. I had graduated from Simpson, worked my butt off, all these things, made my parents proud, and it was just the idea of quitting that. Like, how do I quit something to go something to, I've never been an entrepreneur. My dad was a workers' comp attorney. We never did this entrepreneur lifestyle. I was very grounded my entire life. So how do I go from something so grounding like a 312 pension, benefits to this lifestyle that I've never been around? Dylan was more on that side of lots of risk, flipping, investing in real estate. So he was more, all for it. And I was like, this is really scary. And so getting into it, one of the biggest things that changed my whole career in my entrepreneur journey was just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to keep doing it. And it took me about 1.5 years to actually quit nursing. It just was like a die to myself, like I'm quitting, and it was that whole mentality. And it really wasn't. It was just, I'm putting this on pause. I'm really good at it. I can always pick it back up, but I'm pursuing something that I have a really cool opportunity to do now, which is real estate with my husband. And so we got into real estate, had no idea how to run a business. Some days I still don't know what I'm doing, but we got into real estate, and it was just kind of a trial by error of how do we become different? How do we do our business different? How do we interact with clients different? How do we tell a story differently? And it was a series, if you've been following us for a very long time, you can go all the way to our very first post to our post now, and we're almost night and day different from how we market ourselves. And so that's what I'm excited to share with you of what's worked for us, what hasn't, and all the in between. So I had zero marketing beginning my real estate journey. It was just a lot of trial by error of figuring out what worked for us.
Totally. So how would you say that, how do you approach your marketing strategies, and maybe what did that look like initially? How has that changed over time?
Yeah, I think that any time you get into a business, you have this really profound idea. I want to serve somebody, I want to help somebody, or I'm really passionate about yoga, or I'm passionate about, photography or filmmaking or whatever it might be, AI. And you have the why, you have the problem, and now you're trying to create the solution and package it and say, pick me, I'm the best one, you want to work with me over this person over here. And so I would kind of say that throughout the years, it's funny, I kind of forgot my question. What was my question?
Oh yeah, you're good. So how do you think about marketing strategies for your business?
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
So I think it always has to go back to what is your avatar and what is your why. Because there's going to be marketing strategies you do that you put your heart, soul into, and you're like, oh my gosh, this would be amazing. This is going to take off, and it flops. Nobody responds to it. You don't get the clicks you want. You thought you would get a better engagement. And it's kind of, well, what was the reason behind it? What's your why? And so From us building our company and our team, my whole why is to build a great legacy for our future kids. This is not a pregnancy announcement, we're not pregnant, but our future kids, and to have an impact in our community where if I can host a great platform like my Instagram and partner with Mallory on her cleaning business and highlight her on my business, and it's a trickle effect of a larger community grab, then to me it's just what I can do good in somebody else's life I can pass on, and it's just this massive trickle effect to doing more for the community and around us. So the marketing has changed throughout the years. It first started at how many transactions can we hit? Now it's how many people can we serve? And I think from that lens, it's really helped me to not stress over the next deal, not stress over like how I'm gonna get my next house sold. It's like, how can I tell that story better? And how can that story impact the next person to wanna like hire me to say, Faith does it differently and I wanna work with her.
I love that.
Thanks.
And yes, working with you, like, it was that way. And like, this wasn't supposed to just be necessarily a plug, but like we were literally genuinely so impressed that we're like, this is great. So anyways, so how, obviously real estate, you're doing a lot of probably traditional marketing, if that's flyers, you know, posters out in front of homes, you know, sandwich board signs, that type of thing. So how have you personally balanced, say, maybe more traditional marketing methods versus like the more, like going toward like the digital like assets? Like, is there one that you find produces better for you guys? Like if you're saying like either flyering or like reaching out door to door stuff, or more that digital marketing has worked out well with the different, say, partnerships that you do and things of that nature?
I'll be honest and tell you, I don't do a lot of traditional marketing. I think when you're starting out as a business, you're trying to get your name out to as many people as possible. And your phone happens to be a free resource where all of a sudden overnight a video might take off and you reach 2,000 people views or 2,000 views, but to then pay that company to send out 2,000 postcards is like hundreds of dollars. And so for me, like we started here and watched it grow, and to this day I don't really do traditional marketing. I don't like that I can't really have that consumer to say how many. Now I will say the marketing's changed and QR codes is like the next big thing, and so like I feel like you can track traditional marketing a whole lot better with QR codes where people can scan, go to your link, so you can track how many people clicked or scanned that QR code. But the digital ad market space for me, running ads or being on social media is just a really free resource for an organic reach where most of the consumers that I want to service are on that platform. It helps with, you know, how creative we are in telling our stories, that I don't have to condense it to like a postcard hook, and I can just be like, hey, watch this just close video, and this is how we got this client from A to B and C, and it's a much easier space for me. So for traditional marketing, eventually I would love to do a pretty, you know, badass commercial, but until then we stick mainly and have always been predominantly digital ad for that. Other than that, save the paper, save the trees, and just stay on social media.
Right, that's true. So kind of segueing into a little bit more looking at your customer retention. So one of the things that, or multiple things that you guys do is you have customer appreciation parties throughout the year where anyone who is a customer of yours, it's like, hey, come hang out, let's have a good time, that type of thing. You did, I was at the yoga at Lit From Within. That was like super fun. And every birthday you give us scratchy lotto tickets. There is presents for your like your home anniversary and like all of this. Like even though we bought our house 2.5 years ago, like we're still getting that from you. I'm gonna assume that is that normal in real estate to be doing that? I heard a no very quickly. So there you go, answered from the audience. And so anyway, with that, how did you guys come about doing this customer retention stuff? Like where did you get your ideas from, and how have you seen those particular areas with the customer retention, what you're doing, how have you seen that impact your business?
Yeah, I think that there's no really magic secret sauce. A client who gets a product from you wants to feel like they're remembered on the next thought. Or a client that, you know, purchased a garage door from you wants to know from a year from now, do you still care about me? And I think it can really go for any business. So yeah, we have come up with a little bit of a system where our clients are remembered and celebrated. Basically, for my specific business, anytime I can celebrate a client, whether it's a passing of a family member in terms of like, how can I be of support to you? your kid just graduated college, something, you had a baby, like I want to be there to, genuinely not make you remove the transactional part and make it actually like you're in a relationship with me. When you hire me, this isn't like, hey, peace out, 30 days. It's like, hey, how can I carry you through 2.5, 5 years, 10 years? Because as you know it's a very small town here. So any person that you can create that word of mouth and say, hey, like Faith did such a great job, you have to use her for X, Y, and Z, I've won. Anytime somebody, I'm trying to remember all y'all's really cool, anytime somebody does a really cool pickleball tennis event, it's like, how can I hire them? Like I'm thinking like, dude, that'd be such a cool client appreciation party. It's just like, how can you create that retention?
Do that.
I've never played
I've
never played pickleball.
Oh, you're in good hands with them. Don't you worry. They make it fun.
Not because I'm resisting it. I just haven't had the opportunity. So anyway, did that answer your question? I think it's just like the retention is more so what can I help the client help, one, me stay top of mind, and two, that they actually feel genuinely supported. And from that, there's all kinds of ideas out on the internet that we just kind of have curated R&D'd or even just like repackaged for our own brand so that we can reach that consumer and our client and just make them feel extra loved.
And have you seen that as a positive impact?
100%.
Okay,
100%,
great. That was a quick answer. So, like, when did you guys start doing the customer retention stuff? Like, is that always been a thing, or is it like, the past couple of years?
Well, we have to sell some houses to have some clients.
Exactly.
No, so we started the client retention probably about 3 years into the business. We got really organized, and I do a really good job where we categorize our clients, A's, B's, and C's. You should do this with all of your client base, like who's gonna shout your name, who's gonna say, hey, Sarah was cool, or C, who's like probably not gonna use you again. And that's okay. I just focus on my A's and B's, still invite my C's, but I'm not like so hung up on, oh my gosh, everybody has to be here. So, yeah.
Nice. So with that, let's see. Normally I like to read these questions beforehand, so it's like smooth, but I was like into it. Anyway, so as I'd mentioned, there were some things that you guys have done for your customers in the past. Has there been anything that you've tried that like just totally flopped customer retention wise? Or maybe if there's like a funny marketing thing that you're like, I poured my heart and soul into this and it didn't work.
Oh man. During COVID, I personally don't delete anything off my social media. I think some people think like, oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing to go all the way back. And I really don't, because I think it's funny to watch how far we've grown. But if you really scroll back 2 or 3 years ago, you could see some quite cringy stuff. But we used to do, for my business, for my avatar, I'll say. For my avatar, we used to do these long form talking heads, and it would be like the most scripted thing, and we'd read the teleprompter, and oh my gosh. And we spent so much time, hours on hours doing it, and it would be like 15 likes, and I was like, cool. All right. So I tried it a lot of times with that kind of traditional marketing, a talking head, like, what's a realtor? Why do you need to hire a realtor? All this kind of more in-depth conversation. Just didn't ever work with my avatar, and I squashed that pretty quickly, although it took 2 years to squash it. So I would say that, any bad marketing or any adventure you try to do something different, always just test the market to like what the consumer is wanting from you, of how they'll respond. So for me, because I've been in social media for 5 years, I know talking heads don't work for me. So I don't need to sit there and like try it. I've tried different ways of like where I'll be in my car and I'll just give life experience of like being a business owner, my lessons that I've learned, and that seems more relatable because then it reaches a farther demographic. But to the consumer that I have on my platform, nobody could care about like what a contingency is. It's like, all right, cool.
But we care about the banana tree.
But we do care
I
about
need more updates on the banana tree. Honestly, I was like, it takes up more room in my brain than it probably should. So they have this banana tree. It's a blue banana tree, right?
This is getting to my point, yeah.
Yeah. And like there was always these updates. I was like, I need to see what this blue banana looks like, because you had gotten that for Dylan like a little while ago.
Actually,
or something,
Dylan. So it probably will bleed into one of the questions, but this is kind of like, I think one of your questions is like, how do I get started? So one of the things that I think most people on social media care about is your personal life more than you think they do. Every morning I try to post a workout. So I do 250 workouts a year, and I have an accountability clocker for myself. I get up, take a picture, or post my podcast or do something so everybody knows that I've been to the gym. And you might be like, ugh, who would want to see me at the gym? Or, ugh, who cares? And it's amazing the silent followers you have on Instagram that actually genuinely care. So the 3 things that I'm known for is my banana tree, my dogs, and working out and trying to hit 250 workouts. I mean, obviously real estate, but of my personal life, I have the most investment. People will come up to me and say, I only follow you because I want to see if you ever get bananas on your tree. I still to this day don't know if we actually bought a banana tree. It might be a really badass tropical plant, but we haven't gotten bananas yet, but my retention has stayed because everybody wants to know if we get bananas. So
that's the real trick.
That is
Get yourself a citrus tree or a tropical plant. Presto change.
Document it the entire way. Yeah. But no, for reals, and that's to start like anybody in your space, whether you serve a product, a service, or real estate too. It's like people care about your personal life more than you think. And if I go on my business page, I'm always trying to have 80% business, 20% personal, or even a higher flux towards personal if I can, because more people feel connected. They want to do business with you because they're like-minded. They say, I relate to Faith because she loves dogs, sure. Or she has a banana tree and I have a banana tree. And it's just that commonality that I might not be top of mind for you for real estate, but you see a banana tree and you think Faith, and now I've won. So it's like creating those personal connections as you're growing your business that people can figure out what connections can I make to continue to make Faith either a personal top of mind or my business as top of mind.
So is there any way that you, or I guess anything that you do to kind of stay more on top of trends, either with marketing, retention, anything like that?
This is really funny. I was asking Darian, my in-house guy, to grill me on these questions coming over. And my average watch time on my phone is through the roof because I sit on social media while I'm getting ready every single morning and I just listen to trending audio for 20 minutes. I just scroll. And I know that sounds like, oh my gosh, Faith, that's the worst thing I could do for myself. But for me, in my industry, I'm listening to sounds, I'm listening to trends, I'm listening to transitions, different things that I could implement. I also follow a ton of content creators. I'm inspired by always your film. But for me, if you want to be creative, well, let's just first start off. You guys are creators. You are content creators, whether it's in a digital ad space or not, because you've created a solution to a problem that currently exists in our world. We need help doing yoga better. Sarah steps in. We need help with cleaning services at a high level that does client retention well. Mallory steps in. We need gear for Reading. So there's different things that I think that the limiting belief is I'm not a creative person, so I can't be on social media. And I'm like, but you are a creative person because you just came up with a solution, and now we just need to package it to tell the world why we should hire you. And so for me, in the beginning, I have a little bit of background in photography. I was a caddy to a wedding photographer. But I love creativity. So I love scrolling on Instagram. I love watching certain things and hearing certain things. And then I love finding like-minded individuals who are like me to go, how are you doing it? And how could I maybe R&D it, repackage it, and whatnot? And most people that are in your industry want you to R&D it. They're like, sure, R&D it. I don't care. So a lot of stuff, I just follow a ton of content creators. I immerse myself in it. And then I keep a bank in my notes of really cool ideas that one day I might get that really cool house that I could do this really cool video and it's ready to go. So if you find an idea, write it down. It may not be right now, but it could be down the road.
Nice. So how have partnerships and local collaborations with businesses, how has that contributed to your marketing effort? Or when did you start doing that? What have you seen from that?
So 3 years ago, I started this idea called Monday Fuels. So every Monday, I've been a little bit off, but most Mondays.
It's the Mayan calendar, right? Yeah, that's fine.
Most Mondays, I feature a local business, and I started it. My very first one was Kaleidoscope. It's the most awkward video you could probably watch of me if you scroll back 3 years ago. And so I started Monday Fuels, and I started highlighting local businesses. And What I will say about Reading is that we thrive on the local community support. So if you get yourself plugged into people that can support you, that can, build off of your business, or you can help them build, it's like a trickle effect. And so for me, with my local community highlights, it's been my fastest way to engage with the community. It's been my fastest way to learn about my community. And it's also been a cool return of investment, because it's like, hey, I want to feature you on Monday, and I think you have a really cool thing. Let's collab. And if you don't know what collab is, it's just where two accounts merge together and we become one, for, a little bit. And it helps my following, which I have about almost 8,000, helps reach your following higher, or vice versa if you were to have a higher following. And in return, it can have this really cool partnership of, hey, my video, I did Moto T, and they just started, and I did a collab video. We shot it on our iPhone. We don't do anything professional. Shot it on our iPhone. I do a voiceover. Welcome to Moto T. This is the new thing, blah, 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 blah. And we had 11,000 views. No paid ad sponsorships. It's just that the community likes to see something local, and they want to share something that they feel like they can put on their story. So the collaborations with different businesses has helped me just reach a better network, and I think just find more relatability. So being in this town, local, it goes a long way, and people thrive off of supporting local businesses.
I'll ask maybe 2 more questions here or so, then we'll turn it over to the audience here so y'all can start thinking about questions if we haven't already hit something. But what would you say one of the most important lessons that you've learned while building and maintaining customer relationships has been?
I think that in the very beginning, when you're trying to build your business, you're always trying to replicate one person. Somebody inspired you. I want to do, real estate because I saw this person and it inspired me to do this. And I think that when you can take that inspiration and turn it for something good, and you turn it into your own brand, and you turn it into your own why and your own passion, it becomes a really cool place that people feel that authentic pull to want to do business with you. But when you start your business and you're inspired by somebody, and then it becomes this competition, I'm going to beat them and I'm going to be the best. Sure, healthy competition is good, don't get me wrong. I'm in a very competitive spot. But when you lose the focus of the why, the passion, it kind of disrupts in me, or what I've seen, the natural authentic of what you're trying to deliver to that customer, of why they want to work with you. So I would say that in starting out and just being where you are, have people inspire you, but turn it into something that you only can create, that I couldn't create.
So any particular ideas, tidbits to pass on for people when they are starting out, or maybe doing a massive pivot, and what would you say to them when they're making that initial marketing strategy effort?
I guess let me get a survey. For those of you, who all has a social media of their business? Okay, half of you. How many of you like to be on the social media for your business? Oh, there goes down the hands. How many of you would love to be on social media but haven't started? Hopefully more hands. So I would say that everybody's marketing is going to look different. For me, I thrive on Instagram. I thrive on Facebook. TikTok's not really my thing, but I'll throw my video on there, see if I ever pop off. But anyway, the social media realm that you land in, understand who your avatar is. Who are you trying to reach? Why are you trying to reach them? And I think that you just got to throw spaghetti on the wall. There's going to be years that you don't get return investment. I didn't get any business from my social media. This is not to discourage anybody, but I didn't get any really return of investment for my social media for about 3 years. And it was just me showing up consistently, day. I'm going to try this. I'm going to do talking heads. Talking heads don't work. And the one time that I decided to do a humor content, my husband and I did this Oh No Kanye or some trending audio. We're let's do humor. And it just took off. And I was there's my niche. People like humor. People like the way that we deliver humor. It's not for everybody. It's not going to attract everybody, but your vibe attracts your tribe. That's been my motto for everything. So if my content's a little bit maybe pushing the limit, I don't really care. It's who I am. It's who I want to work with. So if you don't feel like you want to push that element, just push it a little bit. Find that niche, because as soon as you do that, whether it's in a marketing flyer piece, or it's in a community event you do, or how you deliver it on social media, you'll start picking up those followers, and those followers will start saying, I want to do more business with you. But I think it just takes consistency, throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks.
Nice. I love how you've multiple times like returned to your why and how important that really is. So I like that. That's always a good reminder. So y'all got any questions for Faith? Burning question? Oh, Phil does.
My neighbor.
That's
we
right.
learned we were neighbors like 2 years ago on social media. I was like, your view looks very familiar to my view. And he's like, I'm up on the hill. I'm like, okay, I'm down at the bottom.
We're the best neighborhood in Reading, right? Yeah. First of all, I just want to praise you for your work. I think you guys are really a model of how to do social media in this modern world. You know, I think I talk about you guys to other realtors we have in our family, and we're like, hey, you should follow what the Barretts are doing. They're just crushing it. But I really think you are it really is impressive, super impressive. And for a small town in Reading, it's like, oh my gosh, these guys are world class when it comes to their approach to social media. Like it is an example to anyone in the country, in the world, and how to do social media. So amazing job. I have a question for you, and I think this is more technical, but I'm so amazed by your output. You produce so much content, and how do you manage this output, and how do you really just create so much content every single day? Like, what does your schedule look like, and what is your post-production process? Don't get into too many details, but like, walk me through a little bit, like, how do you guys do it?
Our secret sauce. We hired in-house. No, so about 3.5 months ago, we were outsourcing all of our marketing, which was great. It ran us for about 5 years. We did really well. So during that time, we had to batch content everything. So every Saturday was a humor content we would shoot for 6 hours. Listing videos, it was just obviously when a listing came up, we would shoot the listing, and then talking heads when we were doing it then. We switched gears. We kind of created a space in our budget to hire in-house, and that has been a game changer for us. It gives us the flexibility to really think out the process of what our next listing video will be. Let's be edgier, let's be different. And then with the in-house editing, aka Darian over there, the wizard behind it, we have been able just to everything that I've had on paper of I want to be at this level. It just took us to that level of being able to craft and create and sit in the room and be what about this transition? What about that? And so for me, it's just kind of birthed out of me, basically this idea that I've had for a long time of where I wanted to be, but I haven't had that budget. So it taken time. But basically my goal is 1 post every day, family, personal, on the weekends, and then you'll always see about 2 to 3 stories a day. And for me, because I've done so much for years, it's like an ick if I don't have something posted. I'm like, ugh, I gotta post something, And so it's I'll come up with something. So we have a bank of stuff. We try to batch content. We try to have different ideas. We just finally brought back humor content, so we just batch content, 15 videos in 3 hours. So it's just whatever we can bank so that we have more opportunity for the next post the next day. So.
I like the humor content, by the way. So.
Do you sleep? And
No.
do you have a tent in the gym? Yeah. So I love TikTok. So I'm sorry, I'm one of those old guys
Please
on
do.
TikTok. I would say if because my stuff, I'm not doing TikTok for business. I'm doing it more personal stuff. So it's a lot more intense, especially on the spiritual side. When you don't feel motivated to get in front of a screen because you're I want to be authentic, and you're posting so much, because I'll go a month or two and I'm I need to make a post, but how are you doing it every single day? And those days that you're I do not want to be in front of a camera right now.
Yeah, I actually had that at the beginning of this year. I was bored with my content. I couldn't think of anything. I was every video seemed like a hard thing. And I think that's where you just pull back and you're just a break's okay. Sometimes it's good just to stop, refresh. What am I trying to go after? So during that time, we were in this awkward transition of trying to hire somebody and whatnot. And I was okay, this will be my fresh restart. And so for me, I just had to like be okay that I wasn't posting every single day, and that, hey, it's 3 times, it's 4 times a week, whatever it might be. But what could I just still get out there that maybe it's B- work for me, but it's like I'm still out there and I'm still posting it. So then I'll always divert to stories. If I'm feeling unmotivated in any way, just be on stories. Hey guys, I'm out here, just got myself a taco at the new place. You know, people just want to know what you're doing day to day. It's really boring, but like people just really like it. So I would say if you're stuck, just be on stories. So then everybody who watches on stories is always thinking Chris top of mind. So.
First off, thanks so much for taking your time to be here. It's just you've offered a lot of value for all of us, so thank you. My question is, what is your process and what are some of the tools that you've used to discover your avatar?
I've gone through a couple cycles. I've paid a lot of people some really expensive money to figure out my avatar. And I think what I've come down, and I got that avatar like probably like 4 years ago, and I never followed it. It was like some medical professional, blah, 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 and I was just like, okay, but what does my content look like to them? And so I think when I pulled it back, and it just takes consistency of the content, I just learned that people want like a high level listing video of something that can tell us a story of a listing better than Joe down the street that might just shoot it and show some photos. And then a closing story for me is like, how can I tell a story of like how I help this specific person to get into this home and maybe save them money? And I just packaged it differently versus just sold. And so it took time for me to try the just sold, the just listed. And there's nothing, well, I should say, I don't personally do it. I did it in the very beginning, but there's better ways to tell the story where the consumer can feel like they get to be a part of it versus you're just posting to brag about something. So for your yoga, it's like, you know, maybe it's somebody who came in with like back injury and they, you know, did a session with you and their life has now changed. Like to me, I'm like, oh, like that's cool. Like, or it's like, how did you help this person in this classroom and what was the outcome of it? That for me, I should go do a yoga class with Live From Within. You know, it's more so than sign up for a yoga class and you get 30 minutes. It's a little bit more relatable. So that would be kind of the direction I would go.
Who else got questions? Questions.
What are some effective ways that you've used client testimonials? And are there some better ways than others on how you've used that in marketing?
I think that any authentic client testimonial can be packaged so many different ways. Like, so we actually recently did a shoot. This family had been looking to buy a house for 3 years. Gosh, I was like on and off with them. Like they were like, yes, no, yes, no. And it was just a long process for them. They just weren't ready, and it was like, hey, take your time. They finally bought their dream property out in Cottonwood, and my idea was, hey, like, let's have her testimony be the voiceover for the whole video so that we package it together. People learn from her perspective what I did in my role. And so I think client testimonial, people want to see action. People want to see, like, the connection. So if it's like, you know, with your correct me if I'm wrong, school, okay. So if it's like a family had a connection point with that, it's like that testimony and maybe getting some footage around, like people just want to see movement in videos is what unfortunately our demographic has come to, is the attention span. So I always find that if you do like just somebody sitting there talking to you about a voice, like a video testimony, sure, it's a start, do it, because done is better than perfect. But then take it to the next level and say, okay, how can I like make people envision the whole story of my client testimony by adding different shots of the family or whatever it might be that could really help people feel like, oh, that could be like me. So for video testimonials, I love them. I haven't personally done them a lot just because we also have so much other content, but I would love to get back into them. But I'm always trying to ask for the review of the client in contract or very at the post contract to just fresh of mind.
You guys have like what, 200, a whole bunch of Google reviews, like all 5 stars. So you got the testimonials there.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Let's see, George.
So I'm a one-man band, wear multiple hats, and I struggle with burnout, but also just want to get an idea on how you assembled your team. I know it's a kind of wife and husband dynamic and duo, but you said you outsourced and started to hire in-house.
Yeah, so fun fact about our story, I mean, again, if you've been following us for some time, you probably know. So I've actually been wearing a kind of a one-man hat for a while. My husband's been, having health issues, so he's been out of the business for probably about a year and a half, kind of just more in the background of things, probably even longer than that, 2.5 years. And so it's just kind of been me running the show. And I'll say that your hardest part in entrepreneurship is letting go of something that somebody could probably do better than you, even if it's like half done, because I'm a perfectionist, and I don't think I would outwardly proclaim myself as a perfectionist, but you ask somebody to take over my social media, I'm like, ooh, no girl, I got you. Or you take over an admin task, and I'm like, ooh, let me see that again one more time. And so one book that I would recommend that changed my life was Buy Back Your Time. And so it's looking through the lens of what is like an hourly wage, like how much are you an hour? And then what is that an hourly wage to go delegate that to a VA, an assistant, to what you actually have to do to manage your operations and your management. And so for me, buying back my time was, what am I like holding on to that really doesn't need to be like to the perfect to the T, but it's just done, that I can then resource myself to a higher scalable level of doing more business and transactions versus getting stuck in the weeds of like a newsletter going out. Like, who cares? Just send the stupid newsletter out. But I'd be like, oh my gosh, my assistant's like, I got you. I'm like, cool, thanks.
Thank you.
What else you guys got? Any other hands? Going once? Okay, there you are, Nathan.
I'm gonna ask a tracking question. So how do you track, or do you even care what you track, like where people found your information? Like I know it's like 17 touches or something before someone actually uses you. So is it like social media is giving you likes, so you're attributing it to that, or do you actually like figure out where people are finding your information, or how do you track that?
Yeah, so about 2 years ago, as we kind of like grew in our social media, I'll always end any call and conversation with a customer that might be calling me, hey, thanks so much for reaching out. Just curious where you might have heard us, a referral or like online. Because if it's a referral, I send a thank you card immediately to that referral to thank them, and it just then becomes, and then I have a tracking for my referrals because everybody goes into a tier structure of referrals. So the more referrals you send me, it's not like a kickback because we can't do kickbacks here, but I just try to like do a better job of managing, oh wow, my A client has sent me 10 referrals this year. You're awesome. So I always ask where it sources, where it comes from, and if the majority is like, let's just say Google, then I'm like, okay, my reviews are working, so now I need to push back more into getting more reviews. So I'm always tracking. I will say Instagram is sometimes the hardest one to follow because it tends to be the bridge to get you to the bigger conversation. So I call it like my farming. So it's like, it's my brochure all the time of like, this is what the Barrett team can do. But when somebody calls me, it's like maybe from Instagram, I've met them in person, so now they're kind of like a sphere, and now the sphere reaches out to me. So that's where I say Instagram can be a little bit hard to track. If it's a cold lead, they'll say like social media, I'm like, cool, it was Instagram, got it. But I always ask the lead where they heard us from so I can better know where to put more money or double down in. Yeah, I'm like internet, like, I'll interrogate them because I'm like, I just want to know. I'm like, Google, Facebook, let me give you some options. So yeah.
Right, yeah, the internet, that's fire. Anything else, guys? Okay.
So I know you brought up organizing your clients into like A-list, B-list. How do you do that? What do you put it on? How do you like keep it organized in that way?
It's funny. I always like have this like metric in my head of you're an A client, you're a B client, and my clients never know if they're A's and B's. No, I'm just kidding. So I kind of at the end of the transaction am like, hey, if you're just like in love with me, like I'll put it in a tag on my CRM and basically have A. So then I can filter all A clients, I can filter all B clients and C clients. So my admin, buying back my time so I don't get burnt out, my admin puts all of our past clients, all transactions into our Follow Boss, which is our CRM, to basically organize them for that specific purpose. But yeah, it's just kind of more like a gut feeling, like, they'll probably refer me, or well, please don't call me.
Anybody else?
You're an A.
Yes, okay, cool.
I could show proof.
I am going to wear that with pride. Yeah, as a quick updated in your phone, right?
Yeah.
Right. So any other questions for Faith? Okay. There you go.
what would you say your ratio is between like paid ads and organic content?
So I don't really do paid ads at all. I do have Google ads running. So Google last year gave me, so I did a 115, Google was like 15 leads. So that was like of paid. But I really don't spend a whole lot of paid ads. All of my Instagram is just kind of, I don't run any ads on my Instagram Reels unless it's like a listing like I'm specifically trying to reach. I think eventually, once if I feel the need that I like want to reach a larger mass or continue to reach a larger mass, I'll step into that realm. But I try to keep everything as organic as possible.
Thank you.
Yes.
See, that makes it easier too, because like running all those ad platforms can be a lot.
I taught my assistant. Buy back your time.
There you go. There you go. If you take anything from this, buy back your time. Anything else? Dynamite. Oh, George, another one? Third time's a charm, right? There you go.
And for the final question.
Right. Well, thank you, Faith, so much for coming out and sharing just what you've learned and everything. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for coming.
I will say,
Yep.
if you don't follow us on social media, I'd love for you to follow, DM me, just, hey, I was at the startup Reading, just then I can follow you back. But if you have any questions, social media-wise, I am not the marketing expert. I know everything, but I'd love to help you out and be a resource.
And that's how you start to work your way up on the A, B, all that list, you know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Exactly. Thank you again, Faith, so much. Super appreciate it.